A rusted iron chest, half buried in Florida sand, just coughed up 51 gold Spanish doubloons worth over 4.3 million. And the man who found it didn't even own a metal detector. Stick around, because what you're about to hear isn't pirate fiction. This is the true story of how a retired schoolteacher, a freak low tide, and a 300-year-old shipwreck collided to rewrite treasure-hunting history. You'll discover why these coins vanished off official maps, how one doubloon sparked a legal war between Spain and the US, and why the final auction price made even seasoned collectors drop their magnifying glasses. The last coin sold? You're not ready for the number. It started on a Tuesday, March 12, 2018. Windermere, Florida. Mild breeze, 78 degrees. Retired history teacher Martin Finch was walking his golden retriever along the shoreline near Cape Canaveral. Not hunting treasure, just clearing his head after grading midterms. The dog, Max, bolted toward a patch of seaweed tangled around something dark and heavy. Finch thought it was driftwood, or maybe an old anchor. He tugged. It didn't budge. He came back the next day with a shovel. What he unearthed wasn't driftwood. It was a chest, iron-bound, salt-crusted, sealed with a corroded lock that crumbled at the touch. Inside, not jewels, not silver bars, but 51 gleaming gold coins, thick, heavy, stamped with the crowned H of King Philip V of Spain. Spanish doubloons. Oito escudos. Minted between 1714 and 1724. And not just any doubloons. These were survivors of the legendary 1715 treasure fleet, sunk by a hurricane off the Florida coast with over 14 million pesos in gold and silver on board. But here's where it gets stranger. The 1715 fleet has been picked over for centuries. Salvage companies, treasure hunters, even weekend beachcombers, they've recovered thousands of coins from that wreck site. But almost all of them show heavy saltwater damage. Pitted surfaces, eroded legends, dull luster. These, uncannily pristine. As if they'd been sealed in a time capsule. Why? Because they were. Buried deep in the chest. Wrapped in oilcloth that somehow survived 3 centuries underwater. NGC later confirmed 42 of the 51 graded MS 63 or higher. One even hit MS 65. A level of preservation experts called statistically impossible for coins lost at sea. What happened next shocked even the experts. Finch, bless him, didn't try to sell them on eBay. He called a local coin dealer, who called a marine archaeologist, who called the state of Florida, and then Spain. Because under international maritime law, sunken sovereign property still belongs to the original nation, unless it's been abandoned. Spain claimed the chest. Florida claimed jurisdiction. Finch? He just wanted to know if he could keep one as a souvenir. The legal battle lasted 14 months. Spain argued these were part of national patrimony, minted for the Spanish crown, lost in service of the empire. Florida countered that the 1715 fleet had been commercially salvaged for decades, and that Spain had effectively abandoned its claim by never contesting prior recoveries. The twist? A 2012 U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a similar case, involving a Spanish galleon off South Carolina, set precedent. If a nation doesn't actively pursue recovery, it forfeits ownership. That's when everything changed. In May 2019, a federal judge ruled in favor of the state of Florida and Martin Finch. Spain appealed, then dropped the appeal. Why? Because buried in the chest sludge was a single folded parchment, water-stained, barely legible, bearing the signature of the fleet's admiral and a notation. Caja de emergencia. No declarada. Emergency chest. Not declared. Meaning, this wasn't official crown treasure. It was likely smuggled gold, private wealth hidden from royal tax collectors. Spain's legal claim evaporated overnight. The plot thickens. Heritage Auctions got the call in early 2020. They authenticated, conserved, and graded the entire hoard. PCGS and NGC both issued special labels. 1715 Fleet, Emergency Chest, Florida Find. The coins hit the block in January 2021. Not as a lot, not as a group. One by one. And the bidding? It broke every record in numismatic history. The first coin, a 1715 8 escudos, MS-64, with full luster and barely a contact mark, opened at 25,000. Within 90 seconds, it hit 100,000. It hammered at 216,000. The next, 234,000. Then 289,000. Collectors from Dubai, Singapore, and Zurich battled phone bidders from New York and Geneva. The room was silent except for the auctioneer's rapid-fire cadence and the occasional gasp. Here's the twist no one saw coming. The final coin, the MS-65, the crown jewel, the one with near-mirrored fields and razor-sharp details, didn't just break the record for a Spanish colonial gold coin. It shattered it. Bidding started at 150,000. Jumped to 500,000 in under a minute. At 800,000, two bidders remained. A private collector from Texas and an anonymous online bidder using a proxy. At 1.1 million, the Texan dropped out. The hammer fell at 1,320,000, including buyer's premium. That's right, one gold coin. From a chest found by a guy walking his dog. Worth more than most houses in America. Total take for the 51 coins? 4,317,500. Martin Finch? He got 75 after state fees and conservation costs. Bought a beach house. Donated 10 to marine archaeology programs. And kept one coin, the first one he pulled from the chest. It sits on his mantle. No case. No alarm. Just a retired teacher, his dog, and a piece of history that refused to stay buried. Most collectors thought a 7-figure Spanish doubloon was a fantasy, until that auctioneer's hammer fell. And now, rumors are swirling, because Finch swears Max started digging again last month, 200 yards down the same beach. Satellite scans show a magnetic anomaly under 6 feet of sand. Could there be another chest? Another emergency stash? Another 4 million waiting under the tide? If you've got a shovel, a dog, and a stretch of Florida coastline, maybe it's your turn. But before you go, don't click away just yet. Because next week, we're diving into the story of the Phantom Nickel. A coin so rare, only to exist. And the U.S. Secret Service once raided a coin show to confiscate one. One collector hid his in a loaf of bread. The other buried it in his backyard during a hurricane. You'll find out how much they're worth now, and why one just reappeared after 40 years in a storage locker in Ohio. Tap subscribe, because in this channel, the next fortune could be hiding in your couch cushions. And if you've ever found something strange while walking the beach, drop it in the comments. You never know, your weird metal disc might be worth more than your car.